Wonderful. Hi, welcome. This is a webinar. I'm Ann Weiser-Cornell.
I'm Barbara McGavin. We're very glad to be here.
Welcome to this webinar on how the power of self and presence can set you free.
That's not a bad title. Gosh.
I think that's a pretty cool title. And we really have a lot we'd like to share with you in this next hour about that, starting with the question of what tangles are. But let's start even before that with a little introduction to ourselves. I'm Ann Weiser-Cornell, and I'm the co-creator with Barbara McGavin of Inner Relationship Focusing and Untangling, which is an application of inner relationship focusing to these particularly difficult, tough areas of life that we have named tangles.
And we started this whole thing because we had lots of tangles, though we didn't know it at the time. We didn't know that that's what we were going to call it or anything like that. But it was really difficult situations in our lives. I had this ongoing struggle with so many things, with food, with feeling like life wasn't worth living, with feeling inadequate and incompetent and unhappy, basically. So there were many, many kinds of struggles, ways that some really deep-seated stuff really made it hard for me to be able to live freely, for me to be able to live with depth and authenticity and integrity and all sorts of things.
I had struggles with alcohol. I had struggles with getting obsessed with people, getting crushes on people. I had various kinds of blocks. I never felt, realizing from the point of view where I sit now, I wasn't really connecting with people. I could lead a workshop, but could I feel really heart connected to the people who were there? So we were operating in the world. We both earned a living and were putting on workshops and so on. In fact, this all started when we were in the middle of teaching workshops together in the UK. I realized I'd been using alcohol addictively. I said to Barbara, what are we going to do? She said, let's do focusing. We
Seemed like a good idea.
Even though, up till that moment, focusing hadn't helped with that and some of these other really tough issues. But we found ourselves kind of reaching into the roots of focusing, into the essence of it. Or what did our process need in order to really shift? And that's where we found ourselves going. So that's how it all began. 1994. It's 29 years ago. And we found ourselves doing all this private focusing and then teaching the workshops we were teaching. But people started asking us questions that we could only answer from the new insights and understandings we were having. And they were amazing insights and understandings. Wasn't feeling it would be ready to tell people about, but people seem to want to know. So let's give it a try. And they were astonished as well. And they said, when are you doing a retreat on this stuff? And by the next year we were. So that's how Untangling started. So we began to develop this way of using focusing with really tough life issues called tangles. What makes a tangle an especially tough life issue? What is it about a tangle that sets it apart from just being a tough problem?
Because problems, if you throw enough time, intelligence, help, whatever, money at it, you can solve it. Even really, really big problems. But if they are But if they're tangles, whatever you do actually perpetuates it. You wind up going, I really thought this was going to solve it. I really thought that, I am putting my best everything into this. And somehow, you turn the corner and you are absolutely right up against it again. And maybe even worse, maybe even like there's also that burden of I have tried absolutely everything that I can think of, and I've blown it again.
And the likeliest thing to think at that moment is there's something wrong with me and this is hopeless. So no wonder part of a tangle becomes our thoughts about the tangle being impossible, being hopeless, and meaning that we're flawed and we're defective. And that just kind of keeps it even more tangled. But tangles essentially cannot be solved through thinking and through having good ideas and through a lot of other things that would ordinarily solve things quite well. Maybe you're thinking of some things in your life that might be a tangle. Pausing to sense if there's something that's going on for you, that has been going on, that's repetitive, that might have to do with your relationships with other people, might have to do with your work, might have to do with your mood, how you feel as you go through life. Doreen writes, a tangle is when you feel like you're inside a steel cylinder running around and around and never getting anywhere.
That's a really good way of expressing the experience from the inside.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So where in your life is there something like that? And, don't worry too much. Is it a tangle? Is it not a tangle? Because probably if it came to mind, it is. In other words, any really tough area of life will yield itself to our method. Our method that we're going to show you a bit about today is going to really help with it. We're going to talk about the most important thing in our method, and then later we'll actually tell you what all the steps of it are. Most important thing in our method is something we call self-in-presence.
We call it self-in-presence because it's about cultivating that capacity to be present, that capacity to hold in your awareness, whatever needs your awareness. And we also included self because it's you. It's your own very specific manifestation of being alive. Nobody else can do self-in-presence the way that you will do self-in-presence. It's personal, it's unique, it's you within this larger capacity of being able to be present. So self-in-presence, and it is the most important thing that we teach.
Self-in-presence is like a capacity, it's an ability. And even in the toughest times of life, we can draw on that capacity. We're going to talk to you about 3 pillars of self-in-presence, 3 things that allow you to cultivate self-in-presence. We like to talk about cultivating self-in-presence. It's got a nice garden metaphor to it, and it has a process quality to it. Cultivate, go from where you are now to having an even wider or larger sense, a broader sense of being self-in-presence. Well, we had a question from Rita who asks, I've been suffering from chronic back and hip pain. Could this be related to an emotional tangle? Yes. It could be. Because a tangle
And
affects your body, everything
yeah,
in your body.
absolutely. Yes. And at the same time, it's important not to take care of your physical needs, whatever they are,
You
as
said it
well.
was important. You said it was important
It's
not to. I
important.
don't think you meant that.
Oh,
It's important to.
not to, it's important to, it's important not to ignore them.
Ah, right. Yeah.
It's a double negative there. But I could have said
Yeah.
that better.
Your hip and chronic back pain might be something that needs a physician or some physical therapy or something like that.
Which
We
I've
don't
probably
know.
done anyway.
We don't
Yeah.
know. But any kind of pain or physical issue can have a tangle around it, including thoughts like, this will never change, and there's something wrong with me, and
Hmm.
so on. Yeah. So self in presence has three pillars, and the first one is recognizing. Thank you to Marcella Calabi, who added recognizing to our repertoire. Recognizing means noticing that you're not as self in presence as you might like to be. So we go through life, and we're human, and everything's fine and things are going smoothly, and then this is something that's often called being triggered. Like, wait a minute, I just punched back at somebody who I felt punched at me verbally, or
Or not verbally, but
right, could be that too. Yeah, yeah. Or something happened in a group and I found myself completely shutting down, withdrawing, sneaking away, and I'm not even being aware that something in me got, activated, triggered. I got merged with a part. Recognizing that has happened is one of the pillars of self and presence. Recognizing we lost it. We lost that state of being able
spaciousness.
to spaciousness. Yes. So that's number one is R. Number one, R, recognizing. Number two, R, resourcing.
There are so many ways that one can resource, both in the moment when you recognize that you've just been triggered, or in a focusing session, or just cultivating that resourcing strength within your life. So we really believe in what could be termed self-care, that taking care of yourself is super important, especially when you're working with this kind of stuff. You need all the help you can get, all the strength and support you can get. And taking care of yourself, whether it's, a lot of people will do yoga, or I love music and walking and reading. Those are three ways that I do it a lot. And for some people, and for everybody, it needs to be good food and sleep. I just bought myself a new mattress so that I sleep better. Oh, it's wonderful. And so you can just think about all of the ways. It's stopping to smell the roses, or you know, stopping when you see a cat in the road and inviting it to come and have a pet.
Easiest way to resource is to pause whatever you're doing and just be there for a moment. I'm pausing right now. And in fact, pausing can also help with recognizing, because if I remember to pause, that might be a moment when I realize, oh, wait a minute, my stomach is tense, my shoulders are gripped, something has got me going. I say hello to that. Pausing to look out the window, pausing to give myself a little neck massage. All kinds of nice things can happen in that pause to resource. So that's resourcing. And the third R is relating.
And relating is that very special thing that we bring to the party. We really bring this to the party because we do inner relationship focusing. We've done this for years and years and years. Relating is being able to turn towards, being able to listen for and with whatever part in us needs attention. And we do parts work with whatever it is in us that is needing our attention. In tangles, there are parts. There are always parts, many parts, in a terrible, confusing jumble with each other, sometimes in great conflict, sometimes in convoluted connections with each other.
In my drinking issue, I had the part that wanted to drink, the part that drank, and the part that was just ashamed
Horrified.
and extremely horrified by that. What if anybody found out? And those two were like parts of me in absolute opposition to each other, plus the part that was afraid this would never change, and so on. So every tangle has parts. And we've learned in inner relationship focusing to acknowledge the parts we feel using a kind of language. I am sensing something in me. You can do that with feelings, like I'm sensing something in me is upset, or I'm sensing something in me is anxious. But you can also do it with behaviors. I'm sensing something in me refuses to finish that article, or I'm sensing something in me wants to go to the liquor store and buy some wine. And you can do it with thoughts. I'm sensing something in me says or thinks this is shameful, embarrassing, and I can't ever change it. It's impossible. So,
And in relating, we turn towards. Say, I get that you're really feeling like that. Or, oh, you're really thinking that. Or, oh, you really want to do that. Uh-huh. Okay. And I am here.
the quality of self in presence is to not get caught in the argument, but to be a space where all the parts of you have room to be the way they are. That's the space that allows for actual transformational change. The space of not trying to change is the space of transformational change. And in a tangle, it's more difficult to be that space because there's parts that are quite caught up in whatever it is. So when we teach untangling, we give extra help with this cultivating self in presence process. Recognizing, resourcing, and relating. We thought we'd take you all through a little process right now, not just talk to you, but let you experience this for yourself. Shall we do that? Very good.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay.
You go for it.
So inviting you to just take your time. To let awareness come to your body right now. Wherever you are right now, aware of your environment and aware of your body in your environment. How you're sitting, how you're supported. Feeling the places where your body's in contact with something, like the floor or the chair or the couch or whatever. Letting yourself rest into that support. And noticing if that feels good. Like maybe it feels Nice to feel the support underneath you and to rest on that. And maybe a moment ago you weren't realizing how good it felt, and now you pause and you say, yeah, that actually does feel kind of good. Or it might not. You might be uncomfortable. Just acknowledging that. Whatever's here, if it's enjoyable, we enjoy it. If it's not, we acknowledge it. Yes, I know you're there. Taking some time just to be aware of your breathing. And then letting your awareness come inward. So you're sensing in the inner area of your body, the area that includes your throat, your chest, stomach, belly area. Probably, as we've been talking about tangles, something that might be a tangle has occurred to you. Something in your life that feels tough in some way or repetitive or hard to change. And if you're not sure if it's a tangle, just go ahead with it anyway, because if it came to mind, it's relevant. Noticing how it feels in your body as you remember that area of your life where something is really tough or impossibly hard. How that feels in your body right now. And so acknowledging how it feels in your body and also acknowledging what happens, what typically happens when that tangle is operating in your life. It might even be what doesn't happen, what feels stuck or unchanging. But just pausing to acknowledge all that. And let some language form in you that goes like this. I'm sensing something in me that, and just say something that's true about this tangled situation. I'm aware of something in me that withdraws when there's conflict. Or I'm aware of something in me that really hates being contradicted. Or whatever it is for you. And then giving an inner hello to that. So I'm aware of something in me, da da da, and I'm saying hello to that. And often when we say hello to one aspect in a tangle, there's another one ready for a hello as well. It's often a part that's worried about or doesn't like the first part, or it's a sense of hopelessness or anxiety about trying to figure out what's going on. So let's see if there's another one that needs acknowledging. I'm aware of something in me this, and I'm aware of something in me that. And then you can add the words, and I am the space where both of them can simply be as they are. Notice how that feels. I am the space where both or all of these parts can simply be the way they are. this ability to acknowledge what's here and not be in the fight. See if you can feel the potential. What becomes possible? One thing that becomes possible is that you'll be able to listen more deeply to either or all of these parts. But you also might notice that this is difficult, that it's hard to feel that you're the space. And let's have you just notice that it's difficult. And just in noticing that it's difficult to be free of the tangle and be the space, that's also a step. That's also a step full of potential and possibility. So we're going to bring our process to a gentle completion now. What we did today was like a practicing of self in presence, a practicing of resourcing when we sensed what felt good, a practice of relating when we turn toward several parts without getting caught in the conflict between them. And maybe it was also a process of recognizing if we noticed that this was hard to do. So bringing this process to a gentle completion, thanking your body and letting it know you'll be back. And yeah, bringing awareness out into the room again. Maybe your eyes were closed and you can let them naturally come open. And here we are. What did you notice? What was interesting or surprising? Did you feel some kind of difference in the practice of self and presence with a tangle? And in the meantime, while people are sensing if they'd like to share something, we're going to tell you what the 5 powers of untangling are. The first one is the power of cultivating self and presence. That's the one we've really been explaining a lot about today. Okay, Clea writes, I had to ask one of the parts to unmerge before I could let both parts be as they are.
And said that she noticed how it is challenging not to get sucked into the tangle. That's part of what makes it tangly.
Yeah, the tangle will be the most difficult area of your life to not be merged. And it was helpful to acknowledge the difficulty. There you go.
Hey, great. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you for that. Anya writes, hi, Anya. Making a space for the two changes the tension of it right away. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
I think so.
I always
That
find
often
that
happens
amazing.
for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is here. And in fact, that brings us to the second power,
which is the power of and.
So this is here and this is here. And the word and holds parts in as having equal value.
And this is here. And this is here. And this is here. And this is here. The great thing about and is it is infinite. That may not sound like a great thing, but it
you
really
have all
is.
you have all the ands you
all
need.
the ands that is needed. Yes.
Yeah, it's like having a table for dinner where you never run out of spaces if somebody else arrives. There's always room for somebody more.
Yeah.
Jareen, right?
I've been
yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead, Barbara. You said something.
Yeah. I've been watching Ted Lasso recently. I'm a complete Ted Lasso addict at the moment. And in one of the episodes, everybody is invited around to Christmas dinner, and usually they only have 2 or 3 people that show up from the team. And this time the entire team shows up. So they had the ordinary dining table, and then they added a surfboard, and then they added a pool table, and everybody got to sit
That's it.
all
That's what it's
together.
like. Wow, I have to
Yeah,
watch this show.
that's brilliant. It's just totally
Yeah,
brilliant.
great. And Jareen wrote, I noticed several parts I hadn't expected and why I don't seem to get anything done. And definitely that's the power of it. Yes. Third
Yep.
power is the power of deep empathy, which means that once we have as many parts as show up right now here, we'll be able to turn toward any of them with empathy, with what we call deep empathy, because empathy comes in layers and it's possible to go deeper and deeper and get to what each part most dreads and most desires. And that's what's been driving the tangle, one of the things anyway. Another thing that drives the tangle is something called a stoppage, taken from Jean Genlin's philosophy. Stoppage is when the forward movement of life energy wasn't possible, wasn't possible, and something has to happen instead. And the stoppage remains until it isn't there anymore.
And it
So
can change. It can actually recommence. The living forward at any point can actually recommence, he calls it.
recommence. So a trauma model tells us that there's been damage. There's been damage. The damage model says you've been broken somehow. I prefer the stoppage model, which says that something that flows forward has been stopped, but can always flow forward again. So power number 4 is called the power of felt sensing, the stoppage, which can be done.
Yeah, absolutely. And that aliveness, that living forward is always ready to take the next step when the environment that is needed for that to happen is provided. And the greatest environment is relational, is us providing that relational environment for whatever got stuck, whatever got stopped.
Well, I'm going to suggest we wait to mention the 5th power till after we've talked about our retreats. We wanted
Okay.
to take a little time today while we're with you to say how much we love teaching this work in a retreat setting. We had to stop that in 2020. In 2020, we canceled 5 retreats and wrote a book instead. The book will be coming out pretty soon. And now we're doing retreats again. We're going to be doing one in Colorado at the end of September. And we have a couple of guests here, some people who took the retreat last time we gave it in Colorado at the same place. They're going to let us know something about 2 things. What is it like to take our retreat? So this is a retreat called Untangling, and it's 6 days long. And in the 6 days, we teach and enable you to practice with each other the 5 powers of untangling.
And we're actually going to be doing 2 retreats. One is the first basic, we could call it, or retreat, the standard regular retreat. And then we are also doing an advanced retreat, 2 days later, also 6 days long, and in which people go even further, even deeper. Good fun.
Yes, that's right. So what's different about doing something in person versus doing it online? Well, we hope that that we have 2 guests here, and we hope they'll help
Say
us answer
something
that
about that.
question. Yes. So Ginevra, will you go first, and will you unmute yourself and turn on your video?
Hold on your video.
This is Ginevra
Yay.
Howard. Welcome.
Hi. Well, I took Untangling online, the year of Untangling, and then I went to the advanced portion of the retreat in Colorado. One aspect that really stands out to me about the in-person retreat is that there's so much resourcing happening just by virtue of being in the environment, being able to take walks, being out of one's normal life and responsibilities, having one's meals provided. So the conditions are very supportive of the resourcing that helps the untangling process happen.
Definitely. We like to give retreats in beautiful places so people can do lots of resourcing there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's a way that the resourcing makes the recognizing more likely to happen, I've found. Like the more resourced I am, the more likely I am to recognize when I'm merged or identified with a part. I sometimes feel like we're sliding back and forth to identification with different parts all day, every day of our lives, you know.
Yeah.
So we can kind of, but especially when we're working with charged subjects or really stuck subjects, really hard feeling tangles, it can be very tricky to notice. Like sometimes it takes a lot of really sitting there patiently. Really, it can take a very long time. And then I've had the experience of finally there's maybe there's something here that I'm merged with. And in these in-person retreats, there's the luxury of this is what we're devoting the whole afternoon to, you know. There's no rush. There's nothing I'm going to go do right after, hopefully. And I have the support of others who are committed to their own process in a similar way. Those are some of the things. The food's
Beautiful.
good.
And the food.
Yeah,
Yeah.
food's good.
Good. There's nice walks. There's nice little walks, and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually a photograph I took on a walk with Ginevra. Part of what's so gorgeous there. And that's me, Barbara, and Barbara's husband, John, in a good mood. And that's what the lodgings look like there. Yeah. Well, thanks, Ginevra. Let's hear from Rose, who's also here.
Hello,
Rose.
everybody. Hi.
Hey.
So it's a beautiful setting, but it's also an opportunity for people to come together to share wisdom and to share their experiences at a deeper level. And the environment that's created is one of trust and shared experience and shared wisdom. And I live in Colorado. I'm only 45 minutes away from the venue. And it's a very nourishing and nurturing and supportive environment. And also the people that run the center are very familiar with doing these kinds of retreats. So you feel an extended support being there. And so there's a quality of feeling safe there and trusting with each other. And I would say that, and these are the words that came to me because Anne and Barbara have put together such beautiful language. And it's kind of an ecology, if you will, of a linguistic map that goes deeper and broader with the advanced untangling. So you're really bringing the words and the language used to really meet your experience on the spot.
Oh, thank you, Rose. And I want to add to what you're saying that many of us have felt like outsiders or excluded or not belonging somewhere in our lives.
Yes.
And what seems to always happen in one of the untangling retreats is that the group becomes a place of unconditional acceptance.
That's right.
There's no need to make an effort to do that. It just happens. And by the end of the week, the experience of being in a group and being able to be yourself and then absolutely accept it is something you can take with you.
That's right. And I've come
And
up
so
with a
beautiful.
fourth R, by the way. I have a fourth R.
Ooh,
It's
my gosh.
rejoicing.
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 Okay, I love it so much. That's great. Thank you, Rose.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much to Rose and Ginevra, who will be there
Mhm.
in Colorado. I put in the chat the link to go and to the registration. That will also tell you what the dates are and more information about the retreat. And yes, bonus guitar jam and sing along with Anne and Ginevra. We play in the evenings, or we're introverts and we don't play. Like, it's open whether you want to be social in the evenings or not. And there's a nice swimming pool there too. We have a discount of $100 off for people who are here right now or listening to the recording. The coupon code is UT100, and you can get that $100 off the first retreat or the second retreat or both retreats. And yeah, we would also be happy to chat further with anybody who isn't sure and wants to decide. Just write me an email. And the deadline for signing up is absolutely August 1st. August 1st, last day to register. And there are many housing options. You can have a single room. You can have a room in a suite with somebody else. You can have a room with roommates. You can camp. There's you'll see when you get to the website of Sunrise Ranch, which is where this is in Loveland, Colorado, you'll see that there are lots of housing options. It is also not difficult to get there from the airport. So we're coming back to our presentation, and it's time to tell you about the fifth power.
Yes, it is the power of felt sensing it all, which takes us right back to the roots of focusing, where you get a felt sense of the whole situation, felt sense of the whole tangle, which includes absolutely everything your body is capable of summing up the whole experience, bringing together all of everything that's relevant, the how your parts are in this, your interactions with other people, the environment in which you are living. You get a felt sense of the whole tangle and the whole way it is at this moment. And it can be absolutely transformational when you are able to, when you can symbolize that experience that is arising freshly, directly in your body. And that symbolization comes and it gels, it matches. And at that moment, everything changes. Things are
We
never
like
quite
to
the
say
same.
that we like to say that our methods are both vertical and horizontal. Do you want to say more about that, Barbara?
Yeah, the vertical ones are the ones that allow you to go deep in one particular place, where it's like you go deep with the power of deep empathy. That's vertical, goes down. The felt sensing, the stoppage, that also goes very specifically to a deep place. And then we have the power of and, which is horizontal. It is encompassing, it moves out, it adds, and the power felt sensing it all is also horizontal. It encompasses. it creates a welcome for all that is relevant. So
So-
deep
So the combination
and
of deep
horizontal.
and wide really gives the whole method so much of its power. And tangles can untangle. They really
Absolutely.
can.
Mhm.
We've
We
seen
have both
so
had
much.
that happen.
Yeah, that's right. And as you can probably tell from the way we talk about this, we were the first people we experimented on. So everything we tried, we were trying first with ourselves and learning from that, and then offering it to others and learning from that. And
And
in
we
other words,
still are doing that, really.
yeah, really.
There's still more that we are learning, more subtleties, more intricacy, more specificity. It's still unfolding.
So it's not a theory that we thought up from up here. It's
Couldn't do that.
it's experience based.
Absolutely.
And therefore adaptable to each person who needs to give it a try. So if people want to try it right now, you can pause and let your body give you the feel of the whole thing, like every aspect, every angle, every consideration, that's all part of your tangle. And just let the feel of the whole thing come. And it would take a while.
Yeah. Green's interested in the singing. Yep.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. I remember once I did a week of, well, Barbara and I always work on our own tangles. I mean, work on, be with, spend time with.
Yeah.
We take the workshop too. We offer it and we're also taking it. And one week I did one on my issue about wearing nice clothes. And the very last day we did this power of felt sensing it all. And I got a body sense that I could only describe as like a pink silk cushion shaped like an arrow. It took me about 10 minutes to find that description. Like a pink silk cushion shaped like an arrow. That made no logical sense. And yet there was a body sense of, oh. And from that moment on, that whole issue shifted for me. It untangled. It's not a tangle anymore. So, and what we love about, you can tell we're enthusiastic. What we love about our work is that there's, I think, 5 or 6 transformation points, not just one. So many ways it's possible to experience change that is your own change that your body is ready for, change that's not imposed, but emerges naturally, organically from your organism itself. So beautiful.
Yeah. Good stuff. Not
Thank you all
always
so much.
easy.
No,
I just, want to make that clear. It's not always easy,
no.
but because it's deeply true and authentic, even when it's not easy, it has life in it that feels good. So,
It's what your body and your organism has been longing for.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
to do that transformation in the company of others is very, very helpful.
Yeah.
So
Hashtag worth it.
thank you, Ginevra. So remember, if you're in doubt and you want to help thinking about it, have a chat, just write to me and we'll schedule one. And we hope you'll remain interested in learning more about untangling. Even if the retreat isn't right for you, there will be other ways to get acquainted with it. Thank you so much for being with us today.